Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
No, really.
It's disastrous for a president
To even say
be
he's unaware.
unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was very terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
Role play is often down to the players and their intentions. This week, I came across 2 videos of Nigerian ladies proposing to their boyfriends in crowded shopping malls. Unfortunately, both proposals were rejected, leaving the women desperately begging their men to reconsider, to no avail. The comments that followed were not surprising, the majority stating that this is what happens when women go against the natural order of things. So, whose proposal is it anyway? When it comes to who should propose, many people still follow the traditional model where men do all the heavy lifting. A 2017 The Knot survey found that only 61 out of 12,657 brides proposed to their groom, less than 1%. But more recently, in December 2018, Pinterest reported that searches for women proposing to men had skyrocketed 336% compared to 2017, leading Vogue to predict that the engagement season could be a bit different this year. But proposing is a huge decision, one that can shape the rest of your life. So why would 95% of women who presumably want to get married just wait around for it to happen? It could be because women are still ostracized for breaking free from the traditional relationship norms. Besides the tradition component, a society aversion to assertive women, especially in the romantic sphere, is another worrisome reason women don't propose. Women are meant to wait, not to try, and rush or trap men. Girls are cautioned against coming off as bossy. Women, even in the highest seats of business and government, still have their voices trampled on by their male counterparts. Women are told that being bold is considered a flaw, and when it comes to a relationship, it's even more frowned upon. Women don't want to be seen as less feminine or too sexual or coming on too strong. Beth Montemurro, a professor of sociology at Penn State University, told the New York Times, and there's a concern for men about being publicly emasculated. However, times are changing. The dating site Match.com recently found that 95% of men would be up for women making the first move, like going in for a kiss or asking for a phone number. And we're seeing a similar attitude shift when it comes to proposals. Surprisingly, in a survey of 500 men, Glamour found that 70% would be psyched if a woman proposed. Chuka, I wonder if that's true. So, we're definitely progressing in our collective view, but obviously, 70% of women in heterosexual couples still aren't doing the asking. As it becomes more acceptable and more common for women to make other first moves, proposing might not be far behind. If you know what you want, why wait? I say, go for it.
Yeah, I'm totally with you.
Will you marry me, Papi?
No, you can't do that.
You said I can go for it.
You can go for it.
You said go for it. You said go for it.
She's holding on to her papi.
I'll think about it.
I see Chika feeling psyched.
I'm psyched now. I'm psyched now.
National
That's
TV.
what they're saying.
Chika, why do you like it?
To be fair, I actually absolutely like it. I would rather be proposed to than I propose. Oh yes.
Why is
seriously.
that? Why
I
is
don't know. I
that?
just prefer
Why
it.
is that?
I prefer to be chased than to chase. Oh yes.
Now you all know.
Oh yes. So please, if you know, I'm not telling you.
But I don't know.
I'm laying it bare.
For me, I'm looking at
really
it both
enjoy
ways.
it.
I did do a kind of survey
Yeah,
downstairs,
I
and
enjoy
a lot of the young men were very excited about the thought of a woman proposing. Unless, of course, they had issues with the woman, then they'd be sort of, oh gosh, it would be difficult for them.
Yeah.
But they like the fact, one of the guys said he likes the fact that someone loves him enough. He finds it very romantic.
To go against the grain.
To come and actually say, I love you. You know, he'd really appreciate that kind of a gesture. But I just sort of think to myself, part of why, a bit like the youth one, you have to navigate it on a person-by-person basis, is that everybody has different personalities. And sometimes you have people, because when I then ask them, what if this is an indication of things to come, that a woman wants to be bossy, wants to lead the way, the guy goes, no, if he senses that in her character, he wouldn't be up for.
Thank you, Uche.
He wouldn't be up. Yeah, no, please be like that, because clearly there's a discussion to have there. So my own side is, personally, I would not propose, because I want to, my own is make your bed, lie in it. So I want a guy who takes the lead. I know what I want out of a relationship. I want a guy who, when crunch time comes and I feel like I can't make that decision, he steps in. I want someone who takes the helm. Not because I'm not capable of doing many things, which I do, but ultimately I know in my mind, in my marriage, I want the guy to be the boss man. I'm coming, let me land my thoughts. I want the guy to be the breadwinner. It's clear in my mind. So if my mind is, if I start by proposing and taking the lead, then the guy may feel, well, you know, later on he may defend himself by saying, well, I didn't make that choice. You know, some men are like that. And I find women have more of a sort of stickability than men when it comes to certain things. So if a woman commits, she commits. A guy commits, sometimes you have to persuade him. So I find a lot of guys who sometimes do this sort of boyish thing of almost like you now become their mother. I don't want to marry and become anybody's mother. So I want my husband to be the lead man.
Yeah, but what I was going to ask you, because I kind of know, you know, your stance with this, and funny enough, it's not necessarily that different to my stance.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, let people have the freedom.
No, of course.
Yeah. So I wanted to know if you thought it was wrong.
No, I don't think it's wrong.
wholeheartedly, or,
no, I don't think. I think
know,
it's
or
person
just
by
that
person.
No,
I'm not against it. I think you need to, like the examples you gave. I found it strange. Why would you propose to someone in public when you don't already know their mind?
They were trying to control
You're embarrassing yourself.
the outcome.
There was even one I saw, a
like,
woman who proposed to someone and then the guy rejected. She was in tears and he was married. You didn't find out that he was married.
I know, it's crazy.
So you need to, if you know, even within my relationship, I know that there's certain areas where if I'm forward, I know he likes that. So you know your spouse, you know your fiance, you know your boyfriend, and you know when you can take that move and it actually is exciting for him. You know, so I'm not saying that I hate rigid role play, but I do know that I definitely want a guy who, when that time comes, he takes that decision.
Let me come in. I know, Uche, you're so fun to quickly say you're not a feminist. You are, darling. You'll get to a point
She
where
has
you'll
initiated you.
No.
Adopted
because
you.
that is what feminism is about. Do as your spirit moves you. Do not be held back by what society says about your gender or otherwise. Move as a human. That's all feminism says.
Okay, this is the simplest definition you've given us to date. No, all your other ones.
A healthy feminist. You know,
I'm trying to remember Ireti's previous definition.
You're digressing.
She's an unhealthy feminist.
I proposed to you, you said no. Everybody is here.
Everybody's with us.
Lagos, and the Lagos will turn upside down.
Yes, so I totally agree with you that, you know.
That's the spirit of feminism.
Let move as your spirit moves you, but for goodness sakes, like Ekene said, really, if you knew him, you would know whether he's going to say yes, number one. Number two, if you knew him, you'd know whether he would like you to do it in public or in private. Right. And guess what? When I'm going to propose to a man, if and when I propose to a man, it's going to be in some good lingerie. And
I like your style. I always like your style.
But,
correct.
That's been aside, because Ekene said something and my mind was going. She said, I like him to take the lead. There are places where you got to have that lead.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ekene don't be looking like that.
I'm looking at you now.
Well, if there's a joke there, right? So,
why are we always ready to find ways to bully people who are willing to take that step?
That's what I don't understand.
That's what I want to understand.
That's the part I can't.
What is wrong with a woman? Because if you read the comments, they were so derogatory.
I think it's the presumption that this woman is going to become a bossy
No, that's the point.
And they're worried about bossy boots.
Yes, that's the part I wanted to comment on.
Yeah.
I believe that there are some things.
Yes, some men
no, I don't even think bossy comes into this because I believe that there are some things you do that do not necessarily mean you're bossy. I know that this whole thing of "will you marry me?" a girl saying it to a guy does not mean she's actually bossy.
Yeah.
It's, you know, when you're being romantic or when you're in that in-love thing and passionate thing, you do things in a different way, really, to who you really are.
Yeah.
So you will end up asking the man to marry you. He will say yes. And you will just go back, or no, and you will go back to being that same girl that you were, that he took charge, that you liked him to take charge.
Yeah.
But you ask that question because when you're in that mode of thinking, that's just the way you think. So I don't think it's a sign of bossiness.
No, it doesn't have
bossiness
to.
will be other things that happen outside of that romantic side or ideal. I don't think it's...
No, it's not.
You get what I mean?
It's
not a sign.
They say love is foolish and we behave foolishly. We behave to the opposite of us.
Like they say you're a fool in love.
Yes,
means that you're not really a fool after that. Once
and then the
you
other
stop.
thing I wanted to bring up was why, I mean, when people say to me, oh, why did you marry so and so, or why, you know, it's because that was the only option that came my way. Because if we're going by the traditional way, most women, I'm just saying, no. What I'm saying is that it's a limited choice, because us women who stay waiting for whoever comes to us, then we choose, we end up choosing from the small pool of whatever has come to you. Whereas if you don't do that, if you now can have the courage to go out and say, I'm taking my man, you know, then more women will end up marrying men that they actually want to marry.
Going out and taking a man doesn't mean you get your man.
No, that may not mean that, but I'm just saying.
Girlfriend, knowing what you know now, you're going to keep some cards in the back of your pocket. But anyway, that's not what we're here to do. Because yes, there are men like Chuka who think, you know what, I would love somebody to propose to me. And that's a strength in him. As an alpha male, like he's got strength in himself, he's got self-conviction, and his masculinity, if you like, he doesn't feel threatened. That's a woman, you know, she's going to take over without being tattooed. Exactly, thanks, Mr. Twanyeko. He's not afraid that she's going to take over or somebody's going to take over. That's the other thing is that if you look at it and you look at the fact that in relationship, somebody always loves one more than the other. And things should be reciprocated. When I'm strong, you're weak. When you're weak, I'm strong. That's what relationship. So if I'm the one that's actually driven, maybe it's a moment, it's something you did. You know, maybe it's taking that lead that Ekene is talking about in the lingerie that drives me to want to say, you know what, baby, will you marry me? But I would have known what his answer
of course.
Yes. I know we need more time for this topic, I can tell you for sure. Sometimes I'm not sure what to expect on these discussions. Keep your comments coming in on our social media platforms on Facebook, Plus TV Africa, hashtag #TheAdvocateNG, or on Twitter and Instagram at Plus TV Africa, hashtag #TheAdvocateNG. Till next week, we'll be here tinkering with those rickety areas. Let's keep advocating for a better society. Bye for now.
Salute.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
to be unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
very
terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, you know, the news.